Welcome everyone to our episode number 8, the magic number. And today we have an honor guest. Through self-discovery and embracing her true purpose, Kish has transformed her life into one of happiness, health, and choice. She is now passionate about empowering others to live happy, healthy, and a successful life.
And that doesn't happen very often. And when I did, I got to see lots of things. And it wasn't necessarily like, right, like I wanted to figure out what was wrong with them and make them better because I was going to be a pediatric cardiologist. So at that time, there wasn't a lot of talk about like holistic doctors and things. So I didn't really know much about that. So it probably took me an entire semester to decide like, this is not the path I want to take. So took that leap, graduated, and then I like to call that time my identity crisis. It's really not about teaching, it's about the experience. And I was like, well, I don't, no thanks. Well, she kept at it. And if you know anything about these trainings, especially at that time, it was like over $3,000. And I was like, well, I don't really want to invest in something that I don't really want to do anyway. So it was that whole, doing all the things. And then I really found myself in a space where I was so unhappy, but I couldn't figure out why. It's like one of those things where people ask you, like, I have everything, but however, it was one of those things where I realized I don't have any choices in my life. Like, I have to go out into this unknown thing where people are dying and all these different things to make money. So, what I did is I started my first coaching business during that time, helping people to manage their stress and anxiety. And that was like a really good thing for me, but it also helped a lot of other people and my nutrition certification because that's always been an interest of mine. And then I was like, well, why don't you start health coaching?
It's amazing how our physical body gives us a state where it's like, and we're done. Time out. It's time to look at something else as well. So I love that you're working through and supporting people.
You don't need to process your emotions, just push them down. It's fine. It'll be okay. Just be
Mhm.
happy, you know? And if we're not processing those emotions or even just acknowledging that they're there, that's really like the big red flag, or like when you see construction, the big flashing lights and
Mm.
sign that says like road is closed, but we still go through it anyway. And so I think it's really different for everybody. But if you're not feeling like a sense of calm, and he thought I was going to be the boy, and then I came out, and not that he was like disappointed, but I just sort of got that. My mom had to remind him a lot, like, she's a little girl. So like,
It's of course in terms of the mental health, and then I start to feel unfulfilled. That has been like the sequence that has been in my life. Whenever I find those walls that I'm doing something that I don't enjoy anymore, because I think that as the older generation is speaking now, we were not many times allowed to do that because we were in another. And I say, well, it's my life. Well, that's the first response, no? It's your life and you are defending. But how do you make?
we get caught up around people that do not have our best interest in mind. And that's when those things come in. Just suck it up. Just do this. Just do that. Like, yeah, my parents like sort of raised me in a way with emotions and different things, but that's what they knew because that's how they were raised. And so that's when you really need to understand to listen to and trust yourself.
How,
Absolutely.
well, this follow-up question just came up. Like, how do you find that tribe or how do you build that tribe? Because nowadays well, first with COVID that isolated everyone, and then just right before COVID, we were changing already and we were transforming into a society that is really.
And I'd be like, okay, that's it. Great to see everyone. Goodbye. Like, you don't have to like push through just to spend time with people, but you're just going to have to figure out what boundaries it is that you're going to set to make sure that you and your mental and physical health are okay.
Those that are in alignment, because your frequency changes, you start calling forward those people that are in alignment with your frequency, which is pretty awesome. And it's surrounding yourself with the people that you want to become rather than people that keep you like stuck into past habits that we don't enjoy, as well as what I found too.
Mm.
I have another question for both of you as medical people. So which I was like, yeah, that's interesting. She didn't have an opportunity to do that.
And people don't really like pay attention or wrap their minds around that. Like, and I like to take it to the extreme and think
Mhm.
And if you walk into a grocery store and there's other things than that, it's probably not meant to go into our bodies, and realize like our family just either did the best they could or just didn't process these emotions, and they were raised like kind of hard. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
kind of how we went through. They don't want to raise their kids in that way. So it's very like, do what feels nice or what have you. And I'm not saying there shouldn't be an element of that, but there are hard things we need to do. There's just different ways that I think we can teach them.
Great. And do you think it also works the other way around when nutrition can activate depression in the body? If we're eating like really bad stuff, changing our mood. And I mean, I know like when I'm doing certain work that I do, I have to eat really, really lightly to be able to.
Um, if I find myself eating like lots of fried things, like French fries are my nemesis. I love a good French fry, but if I find myself eating a lot of fried things or chips or like, and before I realized it was my diet, it was kind of like, what is wrong with me? Like I'm
Mm.
exercising, like things are good, I feel like aligned, but I'm just like off. And I would have to really pay attention. Like, what are you fueling your body? Because like I said before, like our
Mm.
bodies don't know how to process French fries and potato chips. So it's like, what nutrients are going to your brain? Because what happens like in your when your body's digesting, that's like the most energy that your body uses.
Hmm.
And when it's going through that process, it's supposed to go through and take out all of these wonderful nutrients and just spread it all over your body so that you can do the things you need to do. But when we feed it crap, it's like,
I don't get anything from it, but it's called yucca. And now you find me going into the supermarket and it scans the barcode.
no, the chemicals too, I think is like a big thing people don't pay attention to. There's mad things in there that's like, what is this? And like for years, like you just don't pay attention. It's like, oh, lotion makes my skin feel and look good. So it's like on top of terrible nutrition.
Yeah. And talking about the French fries and all of those foods and things, I think one ingredient that I think it's worth mentioning because it's worth that people pay more attention is the trans fats, fatty acids, and those things, those chemicals. And I explain them how they can be breaking down by us because we don't have those enzymes.
Because like that's all you're going to think about. I can't have, I can't have, I can't have, and then you're going to go back and binge on those things. But what I do tell people is you need to start incorporating more fruits and veggies. And then I tell them, eat them first.
The Netflix and chill. Like the other day, I think my daughters are into horror movies right now. I don't know if it's a teenage thing. And I was like, watch the first 5 minutes. And I was literally like this. And I'm like, this is not chill time. Like, for example, so when I started realizing, looking at affirmations and reprogramming our minds and our subconscious,
Oh, in this action
I
movie,
agree.
they do this. Maybe I should work on this. And so it's very like motivating to me, as weird as that sounds. But like in the past, it would be like me absorbing, like you said, like all the violence and all the different things and wonder why I'm angry and want to like punch people in the face. And it's like, well, it's because that's what you're putting in. That's like what you're intaking. So the things I read, the things I listen to, there's lots of times like everything that it's like intaking, like you wonder why you lay in bed at night. And I have insomnia issues. That's gotten way better since I started doing this, because then you lay down at night and you're like, I'm so tired, I'm ready to go to sleep. And then your brain's like, blah. And it's because it hasn't had time all day to just.
Or throughout the day. And as you mentioned, you bottle up and it has to come out at some point. And then they wake up and they have anxiety and they have craving for sweet foods or processed food.
It's not like a society thing. And I hate to bring this show up, but a lot of people like do. So one of them, I think, looking back, like it was, I mean, I'm very empathetic. So when other people cry, like I want to make them feel better because like I'll start to feel it coming up for me. So like 10 Things I Hate About You, like that older movie, like when she's reading the poem, she cried. I like bought, it was like, I don't know, 10, 12 or something. And then while I was done, I was like, why am I crying at this movie? And then another one is one of my favorite movies is The Notebook.
But you, as an adult, when you watch those movies, you really cry a lot, and you really relate to many of the messages because you say, "This is what I love." That kind of therapy, let's call it, like watching in during the pandemic, and they haven't been able to cope with that, and that I think that's one of the major issues in terms of the depression, in terms of the anxiety, loneliness. I think we have covered plenty of information, and I think we can go on, of course, for more. So I am announcing that we are going to make a part two of this conversation. Yeah. So what can you just tell the audience in terms of how do you help them to self-discover and to find their own purpose?